these ICE officers lawfully carrying out their duties?
Well, the administration fully intends to. President Trump and the entire Trump administration stands firmly with the brave men and women of ICE, who are everyday Americans who put on their uniform every day to protect our communities and to carry out lawful law enforcement operations. That's what's been happening on the ground in Minnesota, and that's what's been taking place in every community across the country. And I just want to zoom out, and you see these agitators who have been violently protesting and harassing ICE agents all weekend long. What are they out there protesting for? They are actively trying to impede law enforcement operations and end the President Trump's mandate to deport illegal alien criminals from our communities. And it's Fox News' very own Bill Malugin, who had exceptional reporting in the last few days. These are illegal alien criminal pedophiles, murderers, rapists, some of the worst criminals who, if given the chance, would commit those same heinous crimes to the protesters in the streets of Minneapolis right now. So short answer is yes, of course. We are surging resources to Minneapolis, and the Trump administration is going to deliver on President Trump's mandate to remove violent illegal aliens from our communities and make America safe again.
Yeah, that list of apprehensions got the attention of even some Democrats. Michael LaRosa, who's going to be with us next hour, put out on X, WTF is Minnesota thinking about trying to protect people like this.
Right.
In terms of what happened last Wednesday and the officer who was involved in the shooting, does the president stand fully behind that officer, that agent? Does the president believe his actions were justified?
Absolutely. And I think the more evidence that comes out shows the officer was justified, and President Trump was right about this all along. And who was wrong? The Democrat Party and the mainstream media, who despicably have been lying about this officer and about this case from the very beginning. And they have had to change their story and their narrative. Because at first, you heard Democrats, including the mayor of Minneapolis, saying that the car never struck the officer and the lethal force was unjustified. Now, of course, there is plentiful video evidence to show that the officer was struck by the car, that this deranged lunatic woman was trying to ram him over with her vehicle and was using that vehicle as a weapon, which justifies domestic terrorism. And unfortunately, we are seeing these instances play out in American communities across the country, where you have these organized, paid antagonists who are part of these groups that are actively, unlawfully impeding lawful law enforcement operations. They are harassing and targeting ICE agents, trying to make it impossible, again, for them to carry out their duties. That's what was happening in this case. That officer used his training. I understand that he's been on the force and he's been protecting American communities for many, many years. He's an experienced and brave individual who unfortunately had to make a very tough decision and was put in that position by these paid agitators who have been doing this all over the country.
Caroline, tomorrow we expect the president to deliver a message on the economy, a programming alert for our viewers. We believe that will be happening. Is it 2 o'clock Eastern time or 2 o'clock local? Detroit. Well, it is Detroit. It's Eastern time, 2 o'clock Eastern time. So we'll carry that right here. What will his message be now, just months from the midterm elections? What really will he dial into as his winning message on the economy?
Well, President Trump, since January 20th of last year, has been laser focused on making America affordable again. And he is doing just that. So tomorrow, he looks forward to traveling to the great state of Michigan, a state he won big, to not only tour a factory that produces Ford F-150s and is going to be hiring more and producing more trucks right here in the USA because of President Trump's effective tariff policies. But the president is also going to deliver an economic address where he's going to talk about all of the positive economic news that we continue to see as a result of his agenda. We have mortgage rates that are falling under 6% for the first time in years. Today, the national average of gasoline is the lowest that it's been in 5 years. We have core inflation at its lowest level in 5 years. And so with a little bit of patience, the American people are going to continue to see that the best is yet to come. President Trump has a proven economic formula that works. He delivered on it in his first term. He's delivering on it now. And in 2026, people in Michigan and in every state across the country are going to see more money in their pockets thanks to President Trump's working families tax cut that he signed into law last year. Those tax rebates will go into effect this year, and the average American, middle-class American, can look forward to up to $1,000 back into their wallets because of those signature tax cuts. So the best is yet to come. There's a lot of positive economic news out there. The president's not going to stop working. He has housing plans in the works. He has a healthcare plan in the works. And so you'll continue to hear from the president, and he'll continue to hit the road across the country to speak directly with the people he loves most, the American people.
All right, so that is tomorrow afternoon. In Programming Note, we'll be carrying that speech live from Detroit. Then let's look ahead to Thursday, where it's just been announced that the president is going to be meeting with the Venezuelan opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado. The president said after Maduro was deposed and captured and brought to the United States that he didn't believe that Machado had the support within Venezuela to become at least the interim president. Her proxy, Edmundo Gonzalez, in the last election that they had in Venezuela, got more than 80% of the vote, according to some counts. Why did the president not believe she would have the support to become interim president?
Well, I think President Trump and his national security team made a realistic assessment of the reality on the ground in Venezuela, and that decision has turned out to be a good one, because look at what President Trump and his team have been able to accomplish in just a little over a week since the capture of the illegitimate dictator of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, who continues to sit in a jail cell in New York. Look at what has happened. We've had complete cooperation thus far from the interim authorities in Venezuela. You've seen the president has been able to cut a $500 billion energy deal. 31 million barrels of oil are now making their way to the United States to be sold, and that money is going into an account that is controlled by the United States government. I mean, the world has never seen such success like this before, and it's because of the creative thinking, but also the action of President Trump and his entire national security team. We also know that interim authorities in Venezuela have agreed to release their political prisoners, which is something the United States has wanted to see for quite some time. So we've seen a lot of cooperation thus far, and the president expects that to continue.
Final question on the independence of the Fed. There are some concerned at this moment based on the new actions by the Feds to open a probe into the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell. President Trump has made it very clear how he feels about the Federal Reserve Chair and his actions while chairing the Fed. Can you assure independence of the Federal Reserve, and where will this be going next, this probe?
Well, look, as for the criminal probe, you'll have to ask the Department of Justice about that. They are in charge. I do know one thing is for sure. Jerome Powell has proven he's not very good at his job. As to whether he's a criminal, that's an answer the Department of Justice is going to have to find, and whether or not they do, I defer that to them.
And let's finish off, if we could, with Iran, because tomorrow the president's going to be meeting with his national security team. Reports are that he's going to be weighing options on what to do to push back against Iran killing innocent protesters who are simply saying that they want a better economy, and some of them now are calling for a regime change. The Speaker of Iran's parliament openly threatened the president over the weekend, calling him, quote, delusional, also saying, if you have the courage to come to Iran, we will discipline you, which many people might find quite laughable considering the beating that Iran took the last time the United States tangled with it. But the president also said that Iran called and said it wants to negotiate. Can you put a little more meat on the bones of that?
Well, sure, I'm happy to. Those comments you just referred to are laughable, and they are just from one member of the Iranian regime's alleged parliament. What I will tell you is that what the Iranian regime is saying publicly is quite different from the messages they are sending to the United States and the Trump administration privately. President Trump, as for him, he has always expressed that diplomacy is the first option, always has been, always will be. However, he is unafraid to use the lethal force and might of the United States military if and when he deems that necessary. And nobody knows that better than the Iranian regime. The greatest leverage the regime had just several months ago was their nuclear program, which President Trump and the United States military totally obliterated through Operation Midnight Hammer. And so what President Trump will do next, only he knows, so the world will have to keep waiting and guessing, and we will let him decide. I'm certainly not going to broadcast any future options or decisions from the president on national television.
All right, Karoline Leavitt joining us live from the White House, our very own private White House press briefing. Thank you so much.
I always appreciate that. Thanks, Caroline.
Thanks, guys.
Hey.
Wow, that was amazing. But we're going to go ahead and spin because she took questions, other questions from the reporters. So we want to go there as well. I don't know what you guys think about it, but where are we going at now? I was already.
Okay, here you go.
No, I already had it. So anyway, you guys, she I don't know. This year came in like no other new year. We have taken captive and arrested President Maduro from Venezuela. We had ICE interacting and a shooting with an American citizen that lost their life. And now we're talking about Iran and different things. It's like it's so much going on all at once, and it's hard to keep up with. I have never seen it so tumultuous before in my life. There's a whole lot going on all at once. And we're going to go to Karoline when she just recently, a few minutes ago, she was taking questions from the reporters. And so we want to hear from her and the questions that they asked as well. So it's a lot. I don't know President Trump if he's going to go live, but he probably is.
Glad to see everyone showed up to work today. All right. Well, happy Monday. It's good to see you all here. We have another busy week. When is it not a busy week here at the White House? As you all know, we'll be traveling to Michigan tomorrow. I know the president's really looking forward to it. He's going to give a speech at the Detroit Economic Club, in addition to touring a factory in Dearborn, Michigan, that produces F-150s. And my understanding is Ford is ramping up that manufacturing and also going to be hiring more American workers at this facility thanks to President Trump's policy. So he'll be doing that tomorrow and talking about all of the great economic news, which I would be remiss if I did not point out to you all. We have mortgage rates falling below 6%. For the first time in years. Thank you, NBC, for this very fair and honest headline. But this is the truth, and these are the facts thanks to President Trump's economic policies. So frankly, they're hard to deny. And then again, we have the Washington Examiner out this morning with gas prices. The national average has fallen to $2.79 per gallon for the first time in nearly 5 years. So these were two of the biggest pain points for the American people, as you all know, under the previous administration. Gas prices, mortgage rates, interest rates, all things that this administration is committed to seeing fall. In addition to prices, we know core inflation is at its lowest point as it has been in 5 years. And so these economic policies are really coming into fruition now that we're in 2026. And we'll be seeing more tax cuts into the pockets of the American people later this spring as well. So it's all good news on the economic front, and I know the president looks forward to talking about that tomorrow in Michigan. I'll take some of your questions.
The Fed chair should be in jail.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Jerome Powell, President Trump has mentioned on multiple occasions that the administration could probably bring a lawsuit against him. Did the president ever direct DOJ officials to open an investigation into Powell?
No.
And can you reassure the American public that his longstanding criticism and public comments about Powell had nothing to do with the investigation?
Look, the president has every right to criticize the Fed chair. He has a First Amendment right, just like all of you do. And one thing for sure, the president's made it quite clear, is Jerome Powell is bad at his job. As for whether or not Jerome Powell is a criminal, that's an answer the Department of Justice is going to have to find out, and it looks like they intend to find that out.
Two more questions on the Fed for you. Senator Tillis is promising to hold up all Fed nominees until this legal matter with Jerome Powell is resolved. What does the president make of that?
I haven't spoken to the president about Senator Tillis's comments. I'll leave that to our legislative affairs shop to figure out, and I'll let the president speak on that himself.
That the Fed should operate independently from him.
The president has made it quite clear he thinks Jerome Powell is bad at his job, and the president has made it quite clear, as have many economists, by the way, that interest rates should be lowered, and they should have been lowered a long time ago.
But does he believe in the independence of the Fed?
He has, and he said that many times.
The president believes that Jay Powell should go to jail if he lied about it.
Even you're yelling out a question that's being asked in a different way, but it's the same exact question as we just answered, and I just answered it. We'll let the Department of Justice determine that.
Taking airstrikes off the table in Iran, and does he believe there's a potential path to end the protest there without military action?
Well, I think one thing President Trump is very good at is always keeping all of his options on the table, and airstrikes would be one of the many, many options that are on the table for the commander-in-chief. Diplomacy is always the first option for the president. He's told all of you last night that what you're hearing publicly from the Iranian regime is quite differently from the messages the administration is receiving privately. And I think the president has an interest in exploring those messages. However, with that said, the president has shown he's unafraid to use military options if and when he deems necessary, and nobody knows that better than Iran.
Talking to the Iranians at the moment.
I understand that Steve Witkoff will continue to be a very important player in diplomacy with respect to Iran. I think the last week has shown that the president made the right and realistic assessment of what needed to take place in Venezuela at this moment in time. And the interim authorities and Delcy Rodriguez and her team have been very cooperative with the United States and the president and his team, as evidenced by the massive energy deal that the president was able to cut with the interim authorities, their commitment to release Venezuelan political prisoners, which we also saw last week. So we've seen a great level of cooperation, and the president expects that to continue. Go ahead. Sorry.
And how soon does he want to see elections in Venezuela?
I think right now it's still too soon to say, and I don't want to set a deadline for the president.
What's the meeting this morning with Marco Rubio about Venezuela, and what can we see this week?
NJIT makes online programs for working professionals.
We're going to go right back to it, but there's a lot going on in this country. We're going to also watch the protests and the things that are going on. And this channel is like to keep up with what's happening in the United States of America. I've never seen it like this before. I don't know if people during their lifetime have experienced so much trauma coming into a new year like it has been for us here in this country. But I hope it slows down. I hope that there be peace in this country. But we're going to see.
The president meets with the Secretary of State and National Security Advisor daily, sometimes multiple times a day. And so it was on a range of topics, as it always is.
On Venezuela, what practical steps would the White House like to see those interim authorities take to stop Iran and Hezbollah from operating in the country, and have those authorities done anything on that yet?
I think right now the main correspondence with the interim authorities is really focused on obviously ensuring stability and prosperity and continued cooperation with respect to energy. As you all know, there was a very powerful and big group of oil executives who were here at the White House on Friday, and so continuing to iron out some of these energy deals. We also have made it very clear, the president's made it very clear that we don't want to see any more drug boats sailing from Venezuela towards the United States of America, which we have not, frankly, in the last week. President's also made it very clear that only oil tankers that are approved by the United States of America will be flowing from Venezuela, and we will continue to seize ships that are stateless or that are not approved for commerce by the United States.
Back to Iran, is the objective in these discussions with Iran still complete denuclearization, or what else is the president looking for as he, engages in this discussion?
Well, he's made it quite clear he certainly doesn't want to see people being killed in the streets of Tehran, and unfortunately that's something we're seeing right now. Kelly.
Don't worry. Has White House spoken with Iranian officials today, and has President Trump spoken with Elon Musk about the internet situation there as well?
I understand he has spoken to Elon about that, yes. He talked to all of you about that on the plane last night. What was your first question, Kelly?
Has White House spoken with Iranian officials today? Could you give any updates on those conversations?
I haven't spoken with Mr. Witkoff today about that, but we can certainly get you an answer.
President Trump is meeting with Archbishop
Of great interest to you, I'm sure.
Absolutely, and he may be speaking as we're speaking. Can you give us a preview of what they'll be talking about, or will there be a readout as well after they're done, what they discuss?
I can see if the president will provide you a readout. How's that?
That sounds good. And also, President Trump, has he seen the video put out by Jerome Powell on Sunday? And if so, what's his reaction?
That video was put out after I was with the president when Air Force One landed last night, I believe. So I was no longer with him when that video came out. I don't know if he's seen it.
Does the president have a dateline, a timeline?
No, he has not set a timeline, but it's definitely a priority for him. She's asking about Greenland, and I think the president was very clear last night. He said that he wants to see the United States acquire Greenland because he feels that if we do not, then it will eventually be acquired or even perhaps hostily taken over by either China or Russia, which is not a good thing for the United States or for Europe or for Greenland as well. Let's not forget, it would not just be in the best interest of the United States, but perhaps it would be in the best interest of Greenland as well. To be part of the United States or protected by the United States. I can't even finish my answer. Everybody's screaming. Go ahead, Monica.
What did the president mean the last night when he said that Iran has called to negotiate and that there may be a meeting that is set up?
I mean, what else do you want me to explain by that?
Called, and who would be a part of that?
There was an official from the Iranian government, I believe it was reported earlier, that reached out to a member of the president's very close team, Special Envoy Witkoff, expressing a far different tone than what you're seeing publicly.
Secretary Christine Hill has been front and center in response to this ICE video. Is the president satisfied with her efforts there and all of her media interviews?
Yes, 100%. President Trump and I actually spoke about this last night, and House Secretary Noem is doing a phenomenal job, not just securing the border, which she and the president did together in record time, but also in defense of the brave men and women of ICE who put on a law enforcement uniform every single day to protect our communities and to protect all of you and every American, regardless if they are Democrat or Republican. ICE is doing a very important job to remove illegal alien criminals from our communities. And I think it's very striking that all weekend long, you had agitators and violent American citizens out in the streets of Minneapolis protesting. Protesting what exactly? Apparently they are protesting the removal of heinous murderers and rapists and criminals from a city that I can guarantee you, when you look at the list of the illegal criminals that ICE is removing from our communities every day, not a single person in those protests and not a single person standing here that works in the mainstream media in Washington, D.C. would want those individuals in your neighborhood, in your community, around your children and around your families. ICE is doing an incredibly important job that's not just important to our homeland security, but our national security. And this administration will continue to stand wholeheartedly by the brave men and women of ICE, including that officer in Minneapolis who was absolutely justified in using self-defense against a lunatic who was part of a group, an organized group, to interject and to impede on law enforcement operations. And it's disgusting what we have seen from the left. And I think that it just shows you where the modern day Democrat Party stands today in protecting illegal alien pedophiles and rapists and murderers over law-abiding American citizens and our brave men and women who serve in law enforcement.
Wow. This is more than I think that what the country can bear. What I can say to everyone, welcome to the new America. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why we have so much going on in this country. Like, it is supposed to be about America first. It's supposed to be about keeping American citizens safe. And I believe that people were tired of open borders. So that's one of the main reasons why Trump is sitting in the White House today, is because he closed the borders. I think the conflict and the reason why people are up in arms, because she's like labeling the people protesting as terrorists, leftists, and when you start name calling, no, these are American citizens. Whether they're right or wrong, they are American citizens. Trump is the president of all Americans. We have one president at a time. So I think he does, and his administration, they do injustice towards administration when you divide the country. No one is happy about seeing a mother of three, a white woman, gunned down, shot in the face 3 times. There are 2 videos, I believe, that are circulating. One from, I believe, her partner's camera that shows that her vehicle was, her wheels were going away from this officer. This officer walked around the vehicle, and if he felt like his life was in danger, one thing that experts say, you don't walk in front of the vehicle in the first place because it is a deadly weapon. But he walked around her vehicle, he went to her license plate, and when her partner told her to leave, but I don't believe that she wanted to die that day. I don't believe that she was trying to sacrifice herself. I don't believe she was trying to hit him. And like his video that they showed, they didn't have, first of all, people is getting this confused. They didn't have body cams. There were no body cams. This was from his cell phone. So he has his cell phone videotaping, and then he has his weapon, I guess, in the other hand. And they just show you part. You hear him shooting, or like they put noise in, but they cut it. They're not showing you what's going on. So they cut the film. But I do believe that as far as Americans, let justice prevail. Allow the state and allow the federal government, let them do their investigation. People are so divided on this who fault it was. At the end of the day, only one person's unalive today. Let them do their investigation. Then by no means her and this vehicle and not moving and not following the orders of the ICE agents, she was wrong. She was wrong, but I don't think that she knew she was in danger. I don't think her partner knew she was in danger.
I appreciate she was calling her a lunatic.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, just calling her.
Yeah, calling her a lunatic. You gotta understand, her children are hearing everything. Yeah. Imagine them trying to go to school. She has a 15-year-old, a 12-year-old, and I believe she has a 6-year-old. They're hearing all the news and what people are saying about their mother, and what her classmates and what their parents might be saying. You have to take in consideration that there are children that are innocent that are hearing the reporting. But I suggest allow the people who have all that are in position, allow them to do their jobs and allow them to bring us the results of the investigation. And then we could say, well, he was wrong or she was wrong or both of them were wrong. She was wrong for positioning her vehicle. She was acting like an ass. She didn't know that that was her last few words when she was saying, I'm not mad at you. She had no idea she was putting her life on the line because she thought being an American citizen gave her protection. And in this case, it's showing that it didn't. It didn't protect her being an American citizen. And they said it was a black man that was also shot dead that they're not showing. I know about this. I just saw this online, so I haven't even looked into it, by an ICE agent. So there are a couple of Americans that are losing their lives, and ICE is supposed to be there to protect.
So 37-year-old Renee Good was killed by an ICE agent in South Minneapolis. Today, as protests continue, hundreds more agents are heading to the Twin Cities for backup. That's according to Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Our Barrett Leone joins us live from one of those protests. She is at the Whipple Federal Building with more. Barrett?
Hey, good afternoon, Aaron. Yeah, this group behind me at the Whipple building, it's gotten larger and they've gotten a little more agitated. And part of that reason is they're seeing vehicles come out of the Whipple building they believe to have ICE agents inside. You can see them going into the streets, yelling at that car. Additionally, a barbed wire fence has been added around the building on top of these cement barricades. And there was a lot of uproar over that, some disapproval of that as well. But those barricades, no doubt, added as a safety measure for folks inside in response to a consistent group that's been here every day since Renee Good was killed last week. Now, this Whipple building, as we know, is the hub for agents during Operation Metro Surge, also a temporary home for some detainees. And the crowd we've seen outside, it's varied day by day and throughout the morning, throughout each hour. And right now we're seeing a couple dozen people out here. Their message, though, it's remained the same: get ICE out of Minnesota. That plea amplified today with the news that even more federal agents are heading here to assist in Operation Metro Surge. That additional presence is on top of the 2,400 federal agents already here. And while it's been nonviolent here at the Whipple building today, there have been some contentious moments. We might be in one right now. And we've seen some clashes over the weekend as well. Now, Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino is pointing blame to local leadership, while advocates we've spoken with out here, they remain steady in their beliefs.
Mayor Fry told you, get the F out of this city. Your response?
Again, it's unabated Title VIII immigration enforcement. Perhaps if Mayor Fry cared more for American citizens than he does illegal aliens and criminal illegal aliens that prey on American citizens, then maybe he wouldn't have a problem here in Minneapolis. And then maybe, had he decided to work with federal law enforcement to take those criminal aliens out of his community, then we wouldn't be here. Maybe, Nicole, maybe Fry needs to take a look at himself and the poor practices and policies that he puts in place.
As long as they're here, I'm going to be here. We want Trump to take his ICE agents back, impeach Kristi Noem, and let him know Minnesota is not sitting down. We are standing up. We are taking a stand, and we will be here. As long as they are here, we will be here.
This is not good.
And right now you can see that group in the street here blocking traffic. We've seen agents come out to push that group back. They since come back into the roadway, and this has been a pattern here for a little bit now. Now DHS tells us that since the start of Operation Metro Surge, which started exactly a week ago, it was announced there have been 2,000 arrests. Now, despite this contentious moment we're seeing now and some of that yelling at agents and the disapproval of this barricade, the group has remained non-violent this morning, Erin.
I don't know. It's like we got it. I think it's time for President Trump to address the nation, because this is out of hand and it's too much that's going on. And this is the time that you need the president to bring calm. I don't know at this time if they should send in more ICE agents. Are they sending it in them there for illegal immigrants, or are they sending them in like 1,200 more? I don't know. That was the number. I think I heard them say like 1,200 more ICE agents. Are they for American citizens? Like, why are they sending more ICE agents there if not to arrest illegal immigrants? So I'm kind of confused with what's going on, because it looked like it's a battle against Americans at this point. Has that been the real battle? Americans against Americans? That's what we're doing? Because it has to be an end to this.
Number of people, protesters have gathered in order to protest what just happened in Minneapolis, where an ICE agent shot Renee Good. Now, I spoke to several protesters, one of which was actually from Minnesota, and he said that when he heard of the news, he was actually shocked that this transpired in his home state. And he said that despite the weather, it was now more important than ever to come out and really show his support of the protest, but more importantly, send a strong message that what happened was unacceptable. Now, I asked other protesters, what would they like members of Congress to do? And if this is really a time that lawmakers should come together and try to pass legislation to slightly reform the ICE federal agency. And here's what they had to say.
They just need to take control again. They're just lying down and letting Trump walk all over them. The Democrats aren't very organized. The Republicans are just spineless. They're kowtowing to Trump, and I don't understand why.
Now, as you can see, a lot of protesters feel very passionate what has happened, but most importantly, they are fearful that something like this will happen again. And so they really are looking to lawmakers and to other state officials to pass legislation in order to reform the federal agency of ICE and to really send a strong message that they do not agree with what the Trump administration is doing. In DC right now, a significant number of people, protesters, have gathered in order to protest what just happened in Minneapolis.
I don't know if Americans are feeling safe. This is supposed to be making America safe. And I think the way that some of these people are responding, they're not feeling safe with ICE there. I believe probably because of what just happened to Renee Good, they didn't expect a young woman with 3 kids to be gunned down, and she thought her being a white American citizen that she would not lose her life, which she ultimately did. That's sending out a message that they really don't care at this point, that you have to follow the law, you have to stand down. If an ICE agent, this is for people that are living in these states where ICE is there, this is an example. When they tell you to remove your vehicle, move your vehicle out the way. It's not worth your life. You're fighting for people that perhaps have entered this country illegally, and some of them are convicted murderers, rapists, terrorists, gang members, you're fighting for them. You're losing your life for people that shouldn't even be here. And they need to think about that they have families like she did, children that were depending on them, and now her children are motherless and they don't have a father. So it's like people are going to have to realize that there are consequences for your actions. I do not believe that Renee Good felt as though that she was in danger. I don't know if that officer felt as though he was in danger. I do know that he had another incident with an illegal immigrant that was not shot and killed, that dragged him down the street. His arm, I guess what they said, was inside of a vehicle. So the way that my perspective is that he should never have been out there. He should have been on desk duty. Why have a traumatized officer that was going to lose his cool and didn't know how to handle the situation? He shouldn't have been out there, because the other ICE agents that were out there did not react like he did. They never drew their weapons. They never fired onto the victim. They were well equipped to handle that situation. How about, why did he just move out the way, shoot her tires, or just let her go? She was trying to get out of there, get out the way. I don't think that her objective was to run him over, to be honest. Honestly, I don't think that she was like, I'm going to die today, I'm going to leave my kids, and I'm going to run over this man. And when they show you the video, and the first video came out, they show you the distance between him and the car. Now, he had his own video with his own cell phone, and at the end with the car incident, they don't show you that. They're not showing you what happened. But the video, the clear video, shows that he was not in direction of being hit by the car. Whether he got hit or not, he didn't go to the hospital. He's not injured. He's still alive. But I think that the message that's being sent is to stand down. Allow the government, the federal government, the state, allow them to do their investigation so that nobody else loses their life. For what reason? She's gone and she didn't accomplish anything. ICE now, the government's sending even more ICE agents to Minneapolis. So she died for nothing. All that happened is that now they're increasing ICE agents. So she died for nothing. And now her kids are paying the price for it. So as far as what I believe is that when they tell you to move out of the way, you need to move out of the way. You don't need to stand in there, and you don't need to try to, harass these officers. You don't need to, agitate them, especially you don't know what they've been through. We didn't know what that officer, I do not know his name, what he experienced. As soon as this happened, they start blaming the victim. They start saying that she was a terrorist, a domestic terrorist. She became a domestic terrorist, not a protester. So they just wiped her name out. But I believe that whether she was a domestic terrorist or not, they still need to do an investigation, state and the federal. Everyone needs to do an investigation, and then people could come to their own conclusions. But right now is too much going on, is too premature.
Posted the following on X this week. He said, shooting unarmed citizens in the head does not make America safe. Congressman, thank you for being here. Renee Good was driving an SUV. So does your post mean that you think SUVs can't be used as weapons?
Peter, good morning. Thanks for having me on. I think that this administration is trying to gaslight the American public, and it's not going to work because the American public can watch that video. You've got Kristi Noem calling it domestic terrorism. You've got Director Lyons saying it was the civilians' fault for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Here's what Americans see when they see that video. They see a young mother behind the steering wheel of an SUV with a cell phone and a whistle, who cuts the wheels to turn right away from the ICE officer and is shot 3 times in the head. Once through the front window, twice through the passenger window, meaning the vehicle was already moving away at the time those shots were fired. The American public is not going to be lied to. They're going to demand accountability. and this administration must cooperate with Minnesota authorities to ensure a transparent investigation.
But I just want to go back to your post. You said that she was unarmed. The fact is, and we're running this video on the side of the screen, she did not make every effort possible to avoid the ICE officer who was standing in front of the car. Are you saying that a car cannot be used as a weapon?
Of course a car can be used as a weapon. What I am saying is, when you have a badge and a gun, and you are interacting with a U.S. citizen who has committed no crime, the onus of responsibility is on you to exercise good judgment and to use that weapon only as an absolute last resort. And nobody watching that video will buy the argument from that ICE agent that he had no other resort other than to shoot her in the face 3 times.
But so you are putting all the onus on the ICE officer. What about on Renee Good? She's behind the wheel of a vehicle. I've been pulled over by a car. I assume that, by a cop rather, I assume that if I start to drive forward, I might, that's against the law, and they might take action to stop me. Is that completely off base? This is entirely the fault of the ICE officer. Put more plainly.
To be clear, so Peter, what you're saying is, just so I can understand, what you were saying is if you get pulled over on the side of a highway, for example, and the officer grabs your door and attempts to prise it open, and is filming you with another officer on the other side of the car, and your car moves forward away from the officers, you think your family would be okay if you then got shot in the face 3 times?
No, but I would think that I'm disobeying a law enforcement officer who's giving me an order while they pull me over for something. I think the point here, the question is, isn't there a better way for progressives who are upset with ICE policy to protest than getting up in their grill, possibly from behind the wheel of a car? Would you agree that that is not the best way?
Again, Peter, you're victim blaming here.
Not victim blaming.
No law enforcement officer.
No, Congressman.
No law enforcement officer should be doxxed.
Nobody is victim blaming.
About 2 minutes ago, I heard Director Lyons say that the civilian was at fault for being involved in an operation. Let's be clear here. You have a badge, you have a gun, you are wearing a mask. You are accountable for everything that happens or fails to happen in that operation. No law enforcement officer should be accosted or harassed or assaulted, and there should be penalties of law for so doing. And no U.S. citizen should be afraid of their own government, and that is what ICE has created. They have stopped being an arm of the law, and they have started being an instrument of fear.
So I want to play this video. The mayor, Jacob Frey, is dismissing the threat posed to the ICE officer who almost got, he says, he thought he almost got run over by a car. Listen to this.
I mean, the ICE agent walked away with a hip injury that he might as well have gotten from closing a refrigerator door with his hips. He was not injured. I've seen worse injuries from doing that.
To the best of our knowledge, the mayor said that without talking to the ICE officer about his injuries. So how is a comment like that any different from dismissing the assassination attempt on President Trump by just saying, well, yeah, he got shot, but only in the ear?
Yeah, physical violence shouldn't be dismissed. But the point is here that the Minneapolis mayor is trying to respond in real time to the gaslighting of this administration. Within minutes of this event, Kristi Noem called it an act of domestic terrorism. How is that in pursuit of turning down the temperature and pursuing a transparent, accountable investigation? Here is where ICE should be focused. As opposed to assaulting U.S. citizens, they should be looking at the 29,000 unauthorized immigrants who they told Congress last year have convictions for murder or rape and are still at large. They have not detained, to the best of my knowledge, even a handful of those individuals. Indeed, a majority of those they have detained have no criminal conviction whatsoever. ICE is not making America safer right now.
So something Director Lyons said before this segment, he said that ICE wouldn't be on the streets if local authorities would just cooperate and enforce some of these detainers. Go get the murderers, go get the people who are accused of sex crimes against kids. So why don't the local authorities just cooperate?
I think Director Lyons might need a lesson in the 10th Amendment and federalism. Local law authorities pursue criminal and civil convictions for state and local law. ICE is meant to execute against federal civil immigration enforcement. And we do need federal civil immigration enforcement. Indeed, Peter, I'm the co-sponsor of legislation called the Dignity Act that would upgrade our immigration code to secure our borders, to change asylum definitions, to allow for more due process, both for agents and for individuals detained, to create a better system. But this idea that somehow this is entirely a state or local issue is just not how the Constitution works.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on to give your side of the story. It was sporty, and that's good. So we appreciate it. Congressman Jake Auchincloss. Hope to have you back soon.
Hey, everyone. It seemed like we having a battle among the Americans. It's like American against the American. It's like people are so divided about a woman being unalived by the very ICE agents that were supposed to be sent to Minneapolis or the different places that they've been designated to go to protect American citizens. So I guess when you hear that American citizen that thought that they were protected because of them being American, when you hear that they were shot dead and shot 3 times in the head, that's a lot. That's a lot. It seemingly, I wish that it was handled better. I wish that it wasn't that serious for her to lose her life. Not her life. Yes, she was an agitator. Yes, she was being an ass. Yes, she shouldn't have made the officers upset with her car. You ever heard of road rage? That's what people do. That's road rage. They get upset and then they shoot the other person because they're blocking a driveway. They're blocking a street. They're stopping people from moving forward. And that's how you have people that get out of their cars and they shoot people. It was like a road rage incident. The officer got upset that she was blocking, and people still really could get around. She was blocking the street and he didn't like it. And since he had a traumatizing experience, then she courted. And until they do a full investigation, there's both sides, but it's like we are American against American. That's what's going on. The very people that are sent there to protect Americans, those are Americans that are out in the streets that are protesting. Those are not the illegal immigrants. Matter of fact, I don't even know if there's any immigrants out there that are protesting. We're doing all the fighting. We're imploding within. And what is this, the 11th day of the new year? Is this 2026? We're talking about maybe going after Iran. We already arrested the president from Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro, and we got war still going on between Ukraine and Russia. We got all this stuff that's going on, and look at what's happening inside the United States of America. Our officers are taking down some of our citizens because they aren't cooperating and allowing them to do their jobs. I think the best thing that some of these states can do, especially the blue states, allow them to go in and get them out of the prisons. The ones that they have arrested, they've been asking to go in. They know who these people are. Don't put them back out on the street and then they got to go look for them. Allow them to go into these prisons and arrest these criminals. Start there. Cooperate with the federal government by allowing them to go in there and arrest these illegal immigrants before they hit the street. Why don't we compromise with that? This way, it's not out in the street and people are not out there thinking they're protecting this neighbor that's been living next to them for the last few years and they're nice, but they don't know anything about these people. It's not even just about them. It's about the ones that are here that are not welcome here. The ones that are gang members, the ones that are terrorists, the ones that are with ISIS, the ones that's with cartel. It's like you have all these others that are out here. And those are the ones that they are supposed to be protecting us from. And you have all these American citizens that want to impede the operations of ICE. So let them go into these jails and pick them up there. So this way, Americans don't feel that they have to get out there because they're thinking they're protecting innocent people when all of them are by far not innocent. They're not. So we got to start somewhere. It has to be a compromise somewhere. We have to come together, because if this is the beginning of the year, and we're not talking about the stock market crashing, the dollar bill being devalued, and everybody buying gold, and all the other problems that have not hit this year that are coming. They're coming, because this show's not about everything else that's really going on that's going to affect Americans in this country. So we got to really get it together, because we're supposed to be an example of the world, and look at how we're behaving. We look like a third world country. What's happening to our citizens, all the infighting, the cops, the killings, all this stuff looks like stuff that we used to see going on overseas. And it's here now. This is the new America. It's here now. So we need to get better. We need to work together. Because I do believe that everyone wants the same results. You want a safe America. You want your kids to be safe, your families to be safe. We want to eat healthy, live healthy. We want to prosper. We want to be able to buy homes. We want low inflation, low interest rates. We want to be able to thrive in this country. And we're losing that every day. Every day we're losing it. And we're so busy fighting each other. We're more of a threat to each other than the people that have come in here at this point. They sitting back and they're watching. Nobody's arresting. Who's arresting all these gang members and NS-13? Who's arresting them? They're not even being arrested. They're watching on TV just like the rest of us. So we need to stop the fighting, stop the in-house fighting. I think it's time probably for President Trump to come on air, because whether you like it or not, he's the president of the United States of America, and it's time for him to make sense out of all of this. And I don't know if the answer is sending more ICE agents there after this, because the only people that they're fighting at this point are Americans. I think the state needs to allow them to go into the prisons so they don't need all these extra officers, and arrest the criminals there. Don't allow them to hit the streets. Don't allow them to go back out on the streets. Then you won't have another Renee Good or another person that lost their life. So that they can identify the people, and they don't have to go around all these other people that think that they're doing the right thing. And what turned out, it cost this young woman her life. It cost her her life. You only get one. The children only get one mother. So I don't believe that she was trying to commit suicide, because that's what that was. I don't believe her partner and her thought that was going to be the outcome of their day, or they would never have done that if they could have foreseen the future. But now that they know that because you are a United States citizen does not mean you have immunity from not being shot by an ICE agent. So that's not your protection. Maybe keep that in mind now. You're not protected like that. And you cannot impede in the arrest or an investigation of the ICE agents. You can't. If you don't like what's going on, you let your congressman, let your senator, let your representatives, allow them to fight for you. It's not your fight. That's what your vote is all about. Let your fingers do the walking. You call up your representative. You call them up in Washington, or your representative in your home state, and you tell them what you want them to do. That's what they're for. They're supposed to fight for you. But getting out in the streets and you're trying to fight is not going to end well. And that's what we're seeing. Because with all that protesting, guess what? Now they got like 1,200 more ICE agents on their way there, if they're not there now. So get on the phone. Call your congressmen and women. That's why they are elected. That's the best way to handle this, and stand down. Allow them to investigate. I think things happen prematurely with the vice president going on alive as soon as it happens, speaking to the nation without all the facts. You can't do that and declare she was a lunatic, terrorist, or whatever he was calling it. You can't do that. You have to have the investigation. And this way it keeps the peace and the calm. If people trusted the investigation, what was going on, they wouldn't be so upset. It wouldn't be such an uprise. Is because when you start labeling people like half of America and they're American citizens, it's unfair to label everyone like that. And they are your neighbors, they're your teachers, they are your lawyers, your doctors, your nurses. Guess what? When you go to hospital, you got Republicans and Democrats there that's giving you care. We're all blended together. So we got to do better, you guys. But I'm going to jump off. Don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe. I'm probably going to upload this as a shorter version. Go to my new channel called Speak to Sports. I'm talking about the Eagles and the football and them losing to the 49ers. So subscribe to that channel. I'm trying to get 50 subscribers there so I can go live because I want to talk about football, especially with the the playoffs are going on right now, and especially before the Super Bowl. So anyway, that channel is growing. I've been doing it for a few weeks, and I have another channel called Pray Till All Here. I'm working on that, so I have 2 other channels. But this one is dear to me because this is to keep us informed. Because we say, "Oh, she's black." No, yeah, what black people don't do. We don't stay informed. We vote straight down Democrat. We don't know anybody's policy, and we have a party that doesn't do anything for us. And we keep doing the same thing, election after election, expecting a different result. And they call that what? Insanity. So it's time for both parties, if they want our votes, to earn our votes. That's where I stand at right now. But I believe in being informed. I believe in us knowing what's going on. And I believe that if you don't like what the president is doing, you got to pray for those in authority over you. You got to pray for Trump and pray for, the people that's in his ear, that he'll do right by the people. Like I said, your nurses and doctors and lawyers and firemen, they get to your house. "Oh, I'm not going to put out the fire because you're a Republican. Or I'm not going to put out the fire because you're a Democrat." That doesn't make sense, does it? You can't buy groceries here because of your party affiliation. So we have to do better. But your teachers, the people that are teaching your kids, they're not all Republicans and they're not all Democrats. If you go to Republican, you got Democrat teachers teaching your kids, as well as Republicans got Democrats and Republican teachers teaching your kids. I'm just saying, we're all blended together. So the people you're fussing and fighting with are your neighbors. They're your teachers, your doctors, your lawyers, your engineers, your real estate agents. They're all around us. All around us. So we need to work this out together. You guys, peace out. God bless. God bless America. America first. I know President Trump has been spending an awful lot of time policing the rest of the world, but we got stuff going on here that really needs his attention, and we need to come together. And and this channel, even like I'm gonna get to even more moderators because different ones come on different times. This is so that y'all can engage in conversation. This is so you can engage in conversation. This is not about who's right or wrong, because everybody got an opinion. We can agree to disagree. That's how life is. Nobody agrees with everything anyone says. That's called life. And as adults, I believe that mostly are adults on here, then these are the things that we are expected to behave according to our ages and being adults. We're not supposed to behave like children. And sometimes you have adults on here that behave like children. And that's the sad part about it. But like, I want people to be able to talk, unless if you're going to be disrespectful and you're unable to tone down your emotions, you're too sensitive and too emotional, then you're going to be timed out. You're going to be, removed from the channel. And that's not my goal or objective. I want people to be able to talk without being timed out. But if you're going to be ridiculous and you can't have a civil conversation, then that's what's going to happen. But you're welcome here on this platform. But you got to show respect. We demand respect on here. Whether you I voted for both Republican and Democrat. Okay? Both. And I'm at this point, I consider myself an independent because I just want someone to do right by all of us. Is that too much to ask? Do right by all Americans. That's what I want. I want someone elected that's not going to divide us, that it got to be about the red or the blue or American against American. I'm tired of that. And just because you're with a party, that does not mean you have to agree with everything they say. And that's how I say, I don't agree with everything from any party. You know, so if I hear something that I'm not in agreement with, I'm going to speak out about it, whether it's coming from Trump or whether it was coming from Biden, or whether it's coming from the Democratic administration or the Republican administration. And that's how we all should be, regardless how we have voted in this past election. So anyway, you guys, don't forget on your way out, please subscribe to this channel. And like right now, I'm working on I got a lot of equipment. I just have to learn how to use it. So it takes time to learn. There's so much information. When you want to learn, it's like novels you got to read for everything. And right now, everything is microwave. You got to be on things like on it right away. Because these stories be like coming so fast. It's hard to keep up with all the drama, especially coming into this new year. It's been overwhelming. So anyway, you guys, God bless. Take care. Love you. Thank you for your support. And come back again. Thank you to my moderators. Hey, Jack, you just got on. I think you've been late. We're going to try to come back on. So anyway, you guys, thanks a whole lot. And we'll see you on the next live. Jack, you was